What happened next was we're going to do a new assessment and we're going to see what Russian interference was. Immediately, the media started reporting, it was huge. They interfered in everything. They tried to help Trump. So the answer to the homework was delivered to the media before the homework had been done. And then when the homework was officially delivered in January of 17 to Obama, shock of all shocks, it said what Obama wanted it to say, which was Russia, Russia, Russia. They wanted to help Trump.
The other thing he said that really struck me, he was talking about the drone program. He killed 10 times more people with drones than George W. Bush did. And he said, I never realized I would be so good at killing people.
He's a cold human being.
Like, what is that? That's sociopathy.
Yeah, well, for sure.
You have to be a sociopath to even think that way.
Yes.
But he surrounded himself with other sociopaths, like John Brennan.
The story started taking shape long before most people noticed it. As the 2016 election began heating up, a certain narrative slowly started to build. A steady drumbeat that soon echoed across the entire media landscape. Russia. It was framed as a dark and dangerous plot to place Donald Trump in the White House. A theory that was pushed again and again by some of the highest levels of the intelligence community. The message was clear, and the story felt simple.
The DOJ is launching a grand jury investigation now into the Russiagate conspiracy allegations per Fox News. They've seen a letter from Bondi that they say she has directed her staff, she did this late yesterday, to act on the criminal referral from DNI Gabbard related to the alleged conspiracy by the Obama administration and Hillary to tie President Trump to Russia.
Do you believe that the CIA has hurt other American citizens?
Yes. I'm sure of it. Yes.
What about physically?
Well, there are two very well-documented cases where Barack Obama used a drone to murder Anwar al-Awlaki.
Yep.
And whether you like the man's politics or not, he was an American citizen who had never been charged with a crime.
What made it truly shocking wasn't just the story itself, but who may have known the truth from the very start. According to handwritten notes from former CIA Director John Brennan, he personally briefed Barack Obama on intelligence suggesting the entire scandal might have been fabricated. The notes said the plan was created by the Hillary Clinton campaign as a way to paint Donald Trump in a negative light. If those claims are accurate, it would mean Obama was aware of it early on.
Sure. This is just a recap on his note. He made handwritten notes after an August 3rd, 2016 meeting at the White House where he briefed Barack Obama and other U.S. officials, including the Attorney General at the time, Loretta Lynch, and the FBI Director James Comey, about the Clinton plan. The notes claim he alerted them to the, quote, alleged approval by Hillary Clinton on July 26th of a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by the Russian security.
Now we learn that Barack Obama is actually from the Deep South. He grew up on a farm in the Mississippi Delta. We learned that the other day when he was in Georgia campaigning for Raphael Warnock, and you could hear it in his voice. Listen.
And John Lewis, even in his 70s, wasn't...
While the world was celebrating him with the Nobel Peace Prize for promises of a more diplomatic future, a very different story was unfolding behind the scenes. Barack Obama was quietly becoming one of the most lethal presidents of the modern era. He inherited the drone program and then pushed it much further, increasing the number of strikes nearly 10 times compared to the president before him. It became a kind of hidden, remote-controlled war.
One of the most interesting moments in the 2008 campaign occurred when a man, like Obama himself, came from out of nowhere to recount his experiences with Barack Obama, the man. His name was Larry Sinclair, and he told an amazing story. He said that in 1999, he had encountered Barack Obama in Illinois, Barack Obama, and then
The image of a calm, peace-focused leader was shaken by a chilling line that insiders later attributed to him, where he reportedly said, "I'm really good at killing people." For many critics, this wasn't just rhetoric. His administration approved the drone strike that killed Anwar al-Awlaki, an American citizen. Whether someone agreed with al-Awlaki's radical views or not, the fact remained that he was never formally charged with a crime or given a trial before the strike. That same hard-edged approach also showed up in his foreign policy, which many say became a lesson in unintended consequences. He even tried to reset relations with Russia using a symbolic reset button, a moment that quickly turned into a global punchline. But by his own admission, his biggest mistake was Libya. Persuaded by advisors to intervene, Obama supported a regime change that removed the government and pushed the country into a long period of chaos.
And just to interject, there is proof that they were going to give him a report on December 8th that downplayed Russian interference. Then there was some meeting with his chief of staff that resulted in a memo saying, per the president's direction, we're going a new way. And then came December 9th, where they started anew on the new project, which would result in that January 17 ICA. But between December 9th and January 17, they did all the leaks to the media saying the Russians interfered and they did it to help Trump. And we have a memo saying per the president's direction. So it's not just supposition that Obama...
Perhaps the most talked about moment of his foreign policy came in Syria. Obama drew a bold red line warning that the use of chemical weapons by the Assad regime would bring serious consequences. It was meant to signal clear moral leadership and strength. But when Assad was accused of crossing that line, the response never came the way many expected. The red line seemed to fade away, lost in delays, explanations, and political debate. America's rivals were watching closely, and many critics said they took note. At the same time, people back home began questioning some of the big promises they had heard. The centerpiece of his presidency, the Affordable Care Act, was supposed to be a symbol of progress and reform. Instead, its rollout became a major headache. The healthcare.gov website, which cost taxpayers billions, launched with serious technical problems that frustrated millions trying to sign up.
She created this entire storyline around the Russians doing these terrible things in tandem with Donald Trump in order to, yes, hurt Trump, but also mostly to distract from her own scandal. And we also know that Obama knew. He knew about it. He was told by his intelligence agencies in the late summer and fall of 2016.
And what about the economic recovery? On Wall Street, the Obama years looked like a golden run. The stock market climbed higher and higher, and big banks celebrated the rebound. But out on Main Street, many people felt a very different reality. For them, the recovery felt slow and frustrating, with wages barely moving and a growing sense that the American dream was getting harder to reach. Then there was the issue of privacy. As a candidate, Obama strongly criticized the Patriot Act and warned about government overreach, promising a future built on more openness and transparency. But once he was in the White House, critics say the direction changed. His administration renewed some of the most debated parts of the Patriot Act and oversaw a major expansion of the NSA's domestic surveillance programs, collecting vast amounts of data in the name of national security.
He's in the room, there's a knock on the door, I open the door, and he's standing there. And he's standing there with more coke, and he comes in, and it was just like a quick, rehash or rerun from the night before.
Exact same program.
Exact same program.
Was he smoking again?
Yep.
So Barack Obama smokes crack and then you...
The man who promised to bring sunlight to Washington ended up building a fortress of secrecy instead. His Department of Justice went after more whistleblowers than all previous administrations combined. Edward Snowden, who revealed how deeply the NSA was spying on its own citizens, was called a traitor. The warning was clear. If you expose the truth, there will be consequences.
But the question was, who was this man? Where did he come from? What did he spend his life doing before he became president of the United States? Well, the news media, whose job it is to answer those questions, spent the entire 2008 campaign trying to keep you from knowing the answers. By Election Day, most Americans knew only one thing about Barack Obama, other than he was handsome and a good communicator: hope and...
Beneath the polished image of his political career, there are darker stories that the media has mostly ignored. Long before he became a global icon, some shocking claims came from a man named Larry Sinclair. He shared a detailed account of a wild night in 1999 involving illegal substances and personal encounters with a prominent figure.
Cy Hirsch piece, here's the cliff notes. Obama colludes with Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer. Sunday morning calls Biden and says, you're done. Kamala's gonna 25th Amendment you, and you gotta step aside.
And who places the call?
Obama.
Obama does.
So Obama calls the sitting president and tells him, you're done. Then tells Kamala Harris, you're gonna be the nominee, but if you don't gain traction, if you're not popular, we're gonna take you out too. I mean, it's all...
Even his most celebrated legacy as a unifier has started to fall apart. He was elected promising a post-racial America. a leader who could finally help heal the nation's deepest divisions. Back in 2004, he famously said, "There is not a black America and a white America. There's the..."
Now that he's a Netflix producer, along with his 8-adult wife, Michelle, he's producing more racial division. The latest is called Leave the World Behind. It's a fictional thriller about the collapse of technology and what humans would do with no phones or computers. The movie follows a family on vacation at a rental house, and one night they're visited by a father and a daughter who show up seeking shelter. They say their phones no longer work and they need a place to stay. So immediately the white family, because they're evil, that's encoded in their DNA of course, is suspicious of the visitors because they're black. And it goes on and on and on like this. Here's a clip.
I'm asking for you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people.
Can't trust white people. They're evil. This is the guy, remember, who became famous at the Democratic Convention in 2004 by telling us there is no white America, there's no black America, it's just one America. But of course, that's not really a profit model in politics, is it? So he's been stoking race hatred ever since, and the disarray around us is the result.
Now, in his post-presidency, that promise of unity seems to have been left behind. As a Netflix producer, he attached his name to the film Leave the World Behind, a thriller heavy with themes of racial tension. In one key scene, a character even warns that white people can't be trusted during a crisis. The man who once championed unity is now making money from the very divisions he once pledged to heal.
There was a September 12th, 2016, September 12th, intelligence community assessment where the FBI and the NSA both said they had low confidence that Russia was the one who hacked and released the DNC emails. Our intelligence did not believe Russia had hacked the DNC. He goes on to say, but that did not stop the Department of Homeland Security or the DNI from putting out a statement in October that they thought Russia was behind the hack. And Jay Johnson, who was the head of DHS, later testified that Obama approved that statement.
This brings us to one final striking contradiction: the king in his castle. For 8 years, Barack Obama spoke to the world about inequality, economic fairness, and the dangers of extreme wealth. He called out Wall Street greed and positioned himself as a champion for everyday people. Today, however, he lives a lifestyle fit for royalty, far removed from the struggles he once highlighted.
So here is Trump just now. He was just caught on camera saying, well, we'll play both of them in succession. Let her rip.
Witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up all the way going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that.
The hypocrisy is impossible to ignore. He rakes in six-figure speaking fees from the very Wall Street banks he once criticized, and even signed a Netflix deal worth a fortune. He lectures the world on climate change while hopping on private jets and cruising the gas-guzzling super yachts of billionaires, becoming the perfect example of do as I say, not as I do.
All right, let's see if maybe this is a way America can hear me at this moment. Go back to that day 10 years ago. What I think binds it together, all these different strands, a case upholding healthcare, a case declaring same-sex marriage part of our constitutional protections, of mourning. I think what pulls it all together is that no one person did any of that.
So he's sitting around on a June Thursday thinking about himself. And
the story of Barack Obama is a striking lesson in the power of image. It shows how a carefully crafted persona and smooth delivery can hide a reality full of broken promises, clear hypocrisy, and raw political maneuvering. The inspiring speeches were real, but so were the drone strikes, the surveillance, and the deep divisions.